Parts of a timeline. So timelines have parts. They have parts. Well, what are these parts, okay? What are these pieces that make up a timeline? Is it head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes? No, it is not head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. These parts are the title, the dates, the scale, and the order. So what does each one of those do? Well, the title is exactly what that sounds like. The title of the timeline. What is the timeline titled? For example, if we were to do one about US presidents, the title of the timeline would be Timeline of US Presidents. And it would tell people as to what the timeline is about. That's a very important concept about the title, that it's able to tell people what the timeline is about and what they're going to look at. And then the next one is dates. Dates is super important because it tells people when things happened. When did this happen? When was George Washington president? When was Abraham Lincoln president? When was Teddy Roosevelt president? And those would all come in dates. And you need to put dates on your timeline to make sure that people know when those things on that timeline occurred. That's very important. Because if you just forgot your dates, it wouldn't be a timeline. It would just be line. And the next part, scale, tells people how long this timeline is going to be. That part is also important. It shows how long the timeline is going to be. If we were to do one of the US presidents, it would span 249 years. And that would be the scale. That'd be the scale of the timeline. And the last, final part of the timeline would be the order. Sorry, I forgot it for a second. order of the timeline. What order is the timeline going to take? This is important because sometimes you might think that the order just has to be one way. As in, if we were to do the presidents, you don't have to do it from George Washington up to Donald Trump now. You could do it from Donald Trump all the way to George Washington, but there has to be some sequential order that tells us as to why we're putting in this order and what to expect in the next one. Most of the time, timelines take up the order as to when things happen. As in, George Washington goes first because he was the first president, and then it's John Adams because he was the second president, and then it was Thomas Jefferson because he's the third, and that's usually how it goes down because it's easier to understand an order in terms of when they happened. Which one came first, which one came next, and then next, and next, and next. And it would make more sense if you had the dates of these presidents and then the order at which those dates happened in chronological order. It just makes more sense in our heads. But there has to be an order to it, an explanation, an explainable order. An order that makes sense, that people would understand. And usually the timelines, the order at which those things happen, when those things happen, and they keep going. So yeah, those are the parts of a timeline. The name of the timeline, which is the title, the dates of the timeline, which is when those things happen on that timeline, because it's not a timeline unless you have dates. It's not a timeline unless you have the time at when those things happen. You just have line. Next is the scale, how long this spans. How many years does this span? That's important. We want to know when these things happen. And how long it took up. And then the last part is the order. How are you going to order? Which one is going to come first? Which is going to come next? Where's the order in your timeline? And usually that is ordered by when things happen. This thing happened first in history, then this thing happened. And this is good because whenever we're studying history and things, we want to know as to when things happened and the order at which things happen. And this helps us really a lot, making timelines to communicate when things happen, the order in which things happen, and what happened. So yeah, go home, make a timeline with those things, the title, the dates, the scale, and the order which they happened. And stay in school. Boop, 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 boop.